So I got cut off when we were talking about the 80-20 rule, and basically we were saying that the 80-20 rule is 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results. And I mentioned the example about the sales customers. And so basically when you apply the 80-20 rule to your tasks also, it basically says you refuse to work on tasks in the bottom 80% if you still have tasks in the top 20%, because the top 20% is going to produce the most results, where the 80% is going to produce the least results. Therefore, you should resist the temptation to clear up small things first, because those are in the 80%. And make sure you use good time management. So when you have a task, you make the list of your task and you assign, is this a 20% task or is this an 80% task? If it's a 20% task, that's going to yield the most results and the most success towards your future. If it's an 80% task, it's probably something that can be put off for another day. So the next principle is consider the consequences. So basically it talks about when you are putting any task down and looking at it, what are the long-term consequences if you do or do not do this task? And that kind of helps determine also what ranking this task is in your list on when you do it. So before you start any task, look and see how does this fit into your long-term goals? What are the consequences if I don't do it? How does this task going to have any influence on my goals, and how will this task determine what actions I take presently? Just be motivated to do these and continually think about them as you're doing them. And the next principles are the practice the ABCDE method continually. So the ABCDE method is, this was new to me also, and I started practicing it, and it kind of cleared things up a lot. So the ABCDE method is after you've made your master list of tasks, assign an A, B, C, D, or E letter to them. A being very important, you have to do it. B being mild consequences, you should do it, and there's only mild consequences if you don't do it. C is it's nice to do, but there's no consequences if you don't. D is delegate the task. And E is eliminate it altogether. I know recently again with the 80-20 rule, I was doing all this, I felt the need to clear up all those small things so I could think about the big things. And that's totally goes against what Eat That Frog means. Eat That Frog says, eat the frog first thing, take on the biggest frog and eat it first thing, and then worry about the tadpoles later. So I made my list and I assigned my A, B, C, D, E to it. And when I did that, I realized that there's a lot of things that I could be D's, that I could be delegating to people who have better skills than me in that area, instead of spending all my time trying to learn that area and not doing it as well as somebody who already has those skills. And my A's would be very important. If I don't get this done today, then the consequences tomorrow can be damaging. So that's how, and that helped me break down what tasks I do, what deadline applied to them, where I put them in on my priority list. In chapter 6, the next principle, he says focus on your key result areas. And basically your key result area is something that you must achieve to be successful at your job. So what you want to do is you want to make a list of key result areas. If you if I am I'm a retired veterinary technician, so my key result areas, were this, and this. If you're a salesperson, your key, what are these tasks you have to do your job right? So when I wrote my list, I need to have good communication with purchasers. I need to have good research and info gathering skills. I need to know how to do mechanics and labor, because I work on airplanes. I need to have good marketing skills because I sell those planes, and I need to learn how to manage my time because I have so many projects on my list. So when I wrote down those 5 things, I kind of labeled them what I'm good at and what I need work on, what I know I'm not good at. And I don't just take it to me, take it to your boss, take it to your friend, your parents, somebody who knows you really well, and ask their opinion. You may be surprised at what you think you're good at maybe differ from what they think, and you may need to work on some areas. So the next principle is obey the law of forced efficiency. Basically, the law of forced efficiency says there is never enough time to do everything, but there is always enough time to do the most important thing. So we all have tasks on our list that it's going to be never ending. You'll erase one, you'll add another 5. You'll erase another one, you'll add another 5. It's never going to end. So don't think you're ever going to get them all done in life. You're never going to be sitting there staring at a blank list. So what you kind of need to ask yourself some questions to stay focused. What are my highest value activities? What can I do and only do, if done well, can make a real difference? And what is the most valuable use of my time right now? And just take a few minutes to think about each task that's on your list, and it's going to save you time, and you're going to have some breakthroughs on that. The next principle is prepare thoroughly before you begin. And I was bad about this. I'd say, oh, I have to fix the brakes on the van tomorrow. So then I'd go to sleep, I'd jump up, and I'd run out there, and I'm like, okay, what the heck do I need? What do I got to do? This and that. Minus the research. I didn't have anything ready. I was kind of scattered, and it just didn't make for a very productive task. So make sure you have everything you need before you begin a task. Clear your workspace of everything except for the one thing you're focusing on. Get any memos from another job, any carburetors from another job, whatever it is, whatever field you're in, get them out of your workspace. Gather all the things you need to do, gather them close at hand, and make sure they're right there, because if they're not close at hand, then you have to get up, go find it. That leaves so much area for distraction. You get distracted walking into the next room, somebody comes and distracts you and takes your time. Set up your workspace so it's very comfortable. You definitely want to be at ease and flow when you're in your workspace. You don't want to have a lot of junk around. You don't want to have, if you need comforting music, you certainly don't want to be playing Ozzy Osbourne if you're a comforting music type person. So set it up so you're comfortable. Get everything ready in advance. Basically, you should really be getting everything ready the night before you start a task. So when I make my task list out, I say, okay, I'm going to fix the brakes on the van. What do I need to fix the brakes on the van? I need the brakes. I need this. I need this. I need this. I need wrenches. I need this. So where do I get the brakes? Well, I got to go to O'Reilly's. Let's get it the night before. That way, when you wake up in the morning and you go out to attack this task, everything's right there in front of you, ready to go. So everything's ready in advance. And this last one is one I never even thought about, but I've been trying it over the last couple days, and it really does work. Assume body language of high performance. So I usually say, oh, gotta go do the brakes on the van, it's blah, blah, blah. Instead, now I've been waking up, all my stuff's ready the night before, my list is made out, I know what I need, I've done my research, and I get up and I'm like, I stand up straight and proud, and I go at it forcefully, like, okay, I'm gonna get this done, have a good attitude about it, and it definitely makes the task go by quicker, more efficiently, and you get better results. So the next principle is do your homework. And this is, again, what it kind of goes back to what I was just in preparation for the task. Whenever I do take on a task, I am a YouTube Googling fool. If I have to fix the brakes, I keep referring to that because I just did that today or yesterday. If I have to fix brakes on the van, I've watched 10 YouTube videos by 10 different people showing 10 different ways to fix the brakes and everything that could happen. And then I've gone on blogs or I've gone on web forums to see what other people are saying. So I have an idea. I've talked to friends that know this stuff and see what I may encounter, so I'm prepared for it. And by doing this, I'm continually upgrading my skills. I'm continuing to get better. I do it through YouTube. I do it through audio books, motivational books, motivational audio listening, talks, and all this builds your mental muscles. So the next principle is leverage your special talents. And here you want to kind of identify your special areas of uniqueness and make sure you become the best in those areas. And to find out what those areas are, ask your questions like, what am I good at? What comes easy to me? What do I enjoy the most? Those 3 questions right there really speaks to what are you passionate about. Because if you're passionate about something, you're usually naturally good at it. It comes very easy and you enjoy it so much. So decide what you really love to do, then throw your whole heart into it and do it to the best that you can. So the next principle is identify your key constraints. So you have these, your key your things that you're good at, and then but identify your constraints, like what's holding you back, what determines the speed that I do a task, what stops me, why am I not already finished? What are those things that stop you from getting that task done? So what's holding me back? Could it be fear? Could it be not knowing what you're doing? What determines your speed? You could be getting distracted. What stops you? It could be that the TV is on or telephone calls. And if once you determine those, then you address them. If what stops you from completing a task is your phone keeps ringing and you keep answering, then you probably need to turn your phone off to not be distracted. So, and every task has a limiting factor that's or a constraint that's going to stop it. So, you know, a lot of times, to be honest, my limiting constraint is money. I don't always have a lot of money. So, my limiting constraint or factor in a task would be money. It wouldn't be my skills or my determination or anything. But if I get to a point where I get to that task and I need something, a part of something I don't have the money for, what am I going to do about it? Think ahead. Okay, if I don't have the money for this, what am I going to do about it? And what can I do to alleviate that choke point? So think about that stuff ahead. So you basically want to identify your constraint and you want to fix it, and then you can move on. And you can apply the 80-20 rule to the to constraints in your life as much as you can to the good aspects of your life. The next one is principle is take it one oil barrel at a time. And in the book 12, take it one oil barrel at a time. And I'm going to tell you the backstory of this because I thought it was very interesting. The author was talking about when he was in the, I think, Sahara Desert, and you could not see anything for miles and miles and miles, and everything looked the same. And I guess a French company or whatever who had years ago, when there used to be a road and there used to be activity in that desert, they had put up these oil barrels to mark the path that you could no longer see. But the oil barrels were still there. And when they were crossing this huge desert, they didn't care what was 30 miles up ahead. They looked at one oil barrel and they could see the next one. They could only see the one in front of them, and they worked their way to that next oil barrel. And then when they got there, then they could see the next one, and they worked their way to that next oil barrel. So that's why the heading of this chapter is take it one oil barrel at a time. So, what that translates to is to overcome procrastination. Get your mind off the huge task in front of you and focus on single action. So if you have this huge task, and we build airplanes, so the huge task is we have this airplane to build. We have the frame to put together, we have all the wheels to put on, we have the motor to put on, we have the electricity, we have the gas tank and all that, and that can be a little overwhelming looking at the huge picture. So if you took that airplane and broke it down, today from 2 to 5 I'm going to build the front end of the airplane. Tomorrow from 2 to 5 I'm going to build the back end of the airplane. Next day from 2 to 5 I'm going to put the motor on the airplane. When you break it down into those small tasks, a big task and a smaller task, it's not so overwhelming. And it oftentimes I'll find that if I plan on just doing the front of the airplane, that when I get it done I'm so excited and motivated that I finished it, then I'm ready and my endorphins are flowing, I'm ready to move on, and I can go to the back of the airplane so I can actually get more done. The next principle is put the pressure on yourself. Basically, it says do not wait for someone else to do it for me. And that was a lot of my issue. If I didn't know how to do it, I would wait till somebody got home that I could ask or show me, instead of popping up YouTube, because I just didn't realize, that I was even capable of doing what I do. So I'd wait for somebody to help me out, or wait for this, wait for that. And I found out that I don't have to. There's so many resources out there that I don't need even a human for. Between YouTube and blogs and the internet these days, um, there's no need to. And it also talks about always look for ways to go the extra mile. So if you're going to do a task, don't just do it to get by, and do it to where you've gone the extra mile, knowing that you've done it to your best, because you only have to answer to yourself. And when they talk about put the pressure on yourself, one of the questions he asked is, if you had to leave tomorrow morning, what would you be determined to do to get done before you left, say on a month-long vacation? And that's another way you can help prioritize your tasks. If you have to have a bunch of different tasks you have to do before you go out of town for a month, sweeping the kitchen is probably not as big as a concern as, say, having your car checked out to make sure it was roadworthy for the road. So that's another way you can help prioritize your tasks. And when you do work on these tasks, work on all of them as if you only had one day to do them. Even though you may have a year, a month, a week, it doesn't matter. Go at it with gusto, where you only have one day to do them. That's where you setting your deadlines, forcing yourself to keep moving, and working hard on the task. And don't let yourself off the hook. I recently worked my butt off all day, and when it comes to my health, I posted on my 100 Days of Healthier Habits. Oh yeah, I worked so hard today. I feel like I really got to work out. And in my mind, my little brain started ticking like, wow, I really worked hard. That was probably a real workout. I really don't need to walk today. And then I thought about this. Walking every day for me is a task now. And I was letting myself off the hook. And I said no. And I jumped in the van, I drove down to the river, and I walked, because I did not want to let myself off the hook. And so the next one is maximize your personal powers.
Number.
And your personal powers are, everybody has their personal. I can't even think of the name right now. I don't know what you said, Mark, but I'm not gonna right now.
Chapter
14. Don't interrupt, please. So there's a few personal powers when it comes to that. Some people work better early in the morning. Some people work better in the afternoon. Some people late at night. So you have to think, okay, if I'm going to take on one of my A tasks, one of the biggest task of the day that I need to complete, am I going to be, you want to make sure you're alert, that you're not tired. So is that going to be in the morning, afternoon, evening? And that's where your scheduling comes in and your deadlines come in. Make sure you fit them in at the right time when you're the most alert, because you're going to need all your brain power to do your most important task. In order to keep from burnout and everything like that, there's people that say, I work 7 days a week. Yeah, I do too. I work 7 days a week. I'm busting my butt all the time. But in order for you to be successful in reaching your goals and everything, you really should be taking one full day off every week. And not one full day off from the office and you're at home tinkering with your clients' files and everything. One full day off where you don't do a dang thing related to any sort of task that is on your list, except for, boating, fishing, relaxing. Do something like that. Don't do anything that exercises your brain. Don't try to sneak away and, solve some client question on, just don't do anything. Turn your brain off from it. Take regular vacations. Allow yourself to sleep in on the weekends. Take a day off during the week. Feed yourself right. Exercise. Both of those get your blood flowing more. You have better brain health, and better energy helps you complete tasks better. And there's some questions he mentioned asking. What am I doing physically that I should be doing more of? What am I doing that I should be doing less of? What am I not doing that I should start doing? And what am I doing today that affects my health that I should stop doing altogether? And all four of those questions, I have lots of answers for all four of those questions. I'm not going to get into, but it kind of brings it down to what's important here. Chapter 15 is motivate yourself into action. you need to become your own personal cheerleader. When you're doing anything, be optimistic, be positive, um, respond to positivity by others. If they're rooting you on, don't get emotional. Talk to yourself like, I can do it, I feel terrific, we're going to get this done. And basic optimist behaviors are, optimists look for the good in every situation. They seek lessons in difficulties, and they look for solutions. When they encounter difficulties, they look for solutions, and they think and talk continually about goals. They don't talk about the past. They don't talk about wah wah wah. It's always forward thinking goals, and that takes a lot to do that. But it's something you just have to retrain your brain to do. And the next principle is practice creative procrastination. So the creative procrastination talks about taking on the biggest frog first, basically. Your A's, A, B, C, D, E. A is your biggest frog. And so you're creatively procrastinating on the tadpoles, the B, C, D's, and E's. But that's calculated. You take on your biggest frog first, you knock it out, you get it done, then you worry about your tadpoles. And then so this basically talks about you're not just procrastinating, you're thoughtfully and deliberately deciding on what goal is more important or what task is more important than the others. And next one is do the most difficult task first. That basically goes back to that. Making your list, reviewing your A, B, C, D's, and E's, combined with your 80-20 rule, and assign each task with an A, B, C, D, or E, 80-20. Select your A task, assemble and prepare for your A task, clear your workspace, and then get started. If you do this for 21 days, it becomes a habit. And that's not just with these tasks. That comes with quitting smoking, that comes with quitting sodas or beer or cussing or talking negative. Whatever you want to work on, if you do anything for 21 days, it starts to become a habit, and it becomes natural. And so the next one is slice and dice the task. And this kind of goes back to where we were taking the big picture, the big plane, and making it into little tasks. And basically you're cutting a big task down to small sizes. You still want to lay out the task in detail, just like we discussed in the beginning. You still want to lay it out, everything you have to do, everything you have to get ready, what are your constraints, what are your assets. But then just resolve to do one piece at a time. And maybe, like with me with the money, I can, just because I didn't have, when I laid out my task, just because I didn't have money to buy a brake pad, doesn't mean I couldn't do A, B, C, and D, and F, and G. I didn't let that one little piece stop me at that time, because I chose to do it in little chunks. Whenever the next one is create large chunks of time. When it's a large task, you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time to do it. You want to make sure you've eaten right, that you're clear-headed, you're doing it at the time of day that you feel most comfortable. And when you build your day to take on a bunch of different tasks, build your day around the largest task or the biggest frog that you have to eat. So if there's a huge task and you know it's going to take 4 hours, pick your most alert 4 hours of the day, and that's where you're going to put your 4-hour task in, and then you can build your other smaller tasks around that. Make sure you eliminate distractions around you, because if you eliminate distractions, like we said, by having to go walk to get a file and get distracted by your coworker in the hall or whatever, if you eliminate those distractions, you're going to get it done a lot faster. And keep focus. And the chapter 20 talks about developing a sense of urgency. Do not wait. Again, when you there's this thing called a state of flow, is when you're at your high, when you're like elated, you're clear-headed, you're calm, everything seems to be working right. your senses are heightened, you're sensitive to your surroundings and to what your task you're working on. You get these amazing ideas, and that's when you're in a state of flow. And that's just for anything in life, in business, in your career. So if you get up and you don't wait on that task and you charge into it and you get into a state of flow, then everything seems to go better. And actually, a sense of urgency to do something is actually what triggers being in a state of flow. And a lot of you may have experienced this before, you just didn't have the words for it. Fast tempo. If you work at a fast tempo, it keeps your motivation going. And with your motivation going, you keep moving with more and more energy. If you feel yourself kind of saying wearing down or whatever, use that positive energy again that we talked about, that cheerleader. You're your own best cheerleader. Do it now. Get back to work. You can do this. Keep rooting yourself on. Tell yourself you're the person who gets shit done. I'm a superhero. Whatever it takes, just keep talking yourself into it, and you'll get through it. And then the last principle he talks about is single handle every task. So single handle every task means you need to break it down and into that single task, and you need to handle it properly. So select your most important task, focus on it, reach high levels of productivity, don't diverge until it's complete. You will decrease your time by 50% when you attack it, focus on it, do it, be productive at it. Don't stop until you're complete. The time to complete that task will be 50% shorter than if you had distractions and you didn't focus on it. And it's been also proven that when you have to stop and start a task, it actually increases the time it takes you to do that task by 500%. So stay focused on it and get it done.